This is Module 1, Lesson 10, Metric Conversions. You will use this for math as well as in science. So we're going to start with, we have these letters up on the smartboard, and we're going to try to figure out what they mean. So the U in the middle here, this stands for unit. Now the unit can be one of three things. It could be for measuring distance, and in that case we would use meter. It could be used to measure capacity, which will be for filling something, and in that case it would be a liter. Or it can be used for the mass of something, and in that case it would be the gram. You also should know that the K stands for kilometer, or kiloliter, or kilogram, so we call it kilo. The other two that you need to know, or three that you need to know about for 5th grade, are on the right-hand side, and the D stands for decimeter, deciliter, or decigram, so we call it deci. The C stands for centimeter, centigram, centiliter. And the M stands for milliliter, milligram, or milliliter. So whenever you see M for meter, do not confuse it with this little m, which is milliliter. The meter is right in the middle. So some of you might ask yourself, how am I going to remember the order in which these go? So there's a little saying that we use to help us remember what to do, and it is that King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Now we've been doing a lot of jumping through the number system, the place value chart, and moving decimals, and we're going to do the same for metric conversions. So we're going to learn how to do this. So for example, if I have 3 meters and I want to see how many centimeters that really is, I want to figure out how I'm going to do that. So the first thing that I always ask myself is, which measurement actually has a number value with it? So when I have meters, I can see that I already have a value of 3. So I ask myself, where in my metric conversion system is meters? I know the meters is my unit, so it's right here. So I put a decimal to the right. Next, I want to see where I'm going to. I want to find out how many centimeters I have. So my centimeters, and I put another dot to the right, and I noticed that I went to the right. I did meters and then I did centimeters. So I'm going to draw an arrow to remind myself of that. And then I see how many jumps I made. I made 1, 2 jumps. So I'm going to take my number 3. I'm going to remind myself there's a decimal right here because it's a whole number. And I'm going to jump to the right 2 times because that's what I did with my units. So that's what I'm going to do with my numbers. So I'm going to go 1, 2. Since there's 2 blank spaces, I have to know that I need to add zeros into there. So 3 meters is equal to 300 centimeters. I try another one. So once again, we're working with meters and centimeters. I have meters right here, and I know that there's already a value for it. So I'm starting at meters, and I'm going to move to centimeters. So there's a value for that as well. Or there's not a value for that, but that's where I'm going, and I know that I'm going to the right. I have to see how many jumps I have to take, which is 1 and then 2. So I write my original number, and I'm going to jump my decimal in the same direction, which was right, and as many jumps as I took in my metric conversion chart. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and I end up with 245 centimeters. Now if you look way at the bottom of our paper here, I also have one where I'm going from meters to millimeters. I can use my same chart. I'm going from meters to 1, 2, 3, which is milliliters, millimeters. So I take my number, once again, that I started with. I had 2 and 45/100ths. This time I'm going to jump 1, 2, 3. And I ask myself, what should I put in to hold that place? I'm going to put a 0. And so then my answer would be 2,450. Here's a bunch of practice that you can try to do meters to centimeters. So you have to remember that each time that I'm moving meters to centimeters, meters start right here at my unit, and centimeters start over here. And each time I'm going meters to centimeters, I have to remember that I'm going to the right, and then I'm going 2 spots. So here is my 2, and I'm going 2 spots. That will give me 200. When I have 1 and 37/100ths, and I'm going 2 spots, I end up with 137. The last one has to do with millimeters. When I'm doing millimeters, I'm actually jumping 1, 2, 3. So I take my number, and this time I jump 1, 2, 3, and I end up with a 0 at the end, which will be 1,370. Next problem. This time I'm not using meters to centimeters. I want to do something a little bit different. And I'm noticing that I have a cat that weighs 4 5/10 kilograms. So I know my kilograms is telling me my measurement. I'm going to write my 4 5/10 kilograms. And I want to see how many grams it equals. So grams would be my unit. I always stay it to the right. And I want to see how many jumps I make, and we notice that I'm moving to the right again. How many jumps I make to get to my other decimal? 1, 2, 3. So I go 1, 2, 3, and I fill in my zeros. The last one that we're going to work on for today is about a dog that weighs 6,700 grams. This time I know the grams first. And I want to see how many kilograms that is. Now this one is a little different than the other ones. I'm going to kilograms. Notice I wrote here by the U first, and then I went to the K. So in this case, I'm going to the left. And I'm taking 1, 2, 3 jumps to get there. So I start where my decimal is, and I go 1, 2, 3 jumps to get there. So my answer would be 6 7/10. If I prefer to keep my 0, I can write 6 700 thousandths, and that is also okay.